Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Barbie. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I'm here to show you this fun fold card, is what I would call it, that is actually got a nice little surprise with your when your recipient gets it. They open it up and they open the card and this little bee spins all over the place. So I will show you that real fast here. You just kind of spin it around before you put it in the envelope. And mail it. And then when your recipient opens it, he does a little dance. So in order to make this card today, we're starting off by using a piece of Emerald Envy cardstock. This is 8.5 by 5.5, and it is scored and folded at the regular 4 1/4. And then it also has an extra fold in the middle of the front that is at 2 1/8. So then that'll fold flush there along the edge, and it gets you the Z fold card. Also, we have a scrap piece of Whisper White. This isn't so scrap for me, but it'll work. And for stamp sets, today we're using the Hostess set, Tranquil Tulips. This is going to be retiring here at the end of May. So if you want this stamp set, I would encourage you to go ahead and either have a group of friends that put in an order together, 150, have a party that has 150, or you yourself can just put in an order that is worth it's 150 before tax and shipping, and you will be able to get this using your Hostess points. That being said, I am going to go ahead and start off here. Using the layering circles, framelets. I am going to cut out the piece that frames the Tranquil tulips on the inside of the card here, and I'm going to go ahead and do that quick, and I will be right back. And here I have that all stamped out there. Grab my scrap sheet of paper. And then I am also going to show you how I cut the middle part out here. What I did was this was a scallop edged for the inside, but I'm going to use a solid edge for the outside here. And it will be this one. So it is technically the third smallest. And so I had cut out a cheat sheet out of scrap paper. I cut this so then that way I could figure out, fold it in half, and figure out where to place this. So then it's gonna, when I open this up, it is going to be a regular circle. And it's not going to be oddly shaped at all or anything. So I'm going to go ahead and line this up and figure out where on here I want it to be. So I'm going to go right along there. I kind of like it placed there. So then I'm going to go ahead and put this down over my guide here. I know that that's where I want it to be placed. Now I want it only to cut this side, so I'm going to want to open it up when I run it through the Big Shot, so then that way it's only cutting out the circle on this side and it's not cutting out the entire circle, because that would just be awkward. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I will be right back to show you what that finished looks like. And here's what that looks like. So it's a pretty good circle there. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stamp these tulips. And that is why I have my extra piece of scrap paper here. So in that way, I'm not making too much of a mess. So I'm going to start off by taking the base to this tulip. It's a two-step stamp, so I've got this piece that I'm going to stamp later, and I'm going to do berry burst for both of the layers. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to go ahead and ink up my stamp. Flip that over. There's going to ink up my stamp, and then I'm going to stamp it off onto my scrap piece of paper. And I am going to go ahead and right square in the middle, or as close to the middle as possible, stamp that down. And I kind of got a little bit of a bubble in there. But I'm not going to be too worried about it, because when I go back to stamp this, and the bee will cover it up too. I wouldn't have that bubble if I would have used my paper pierce mat. So I think I'm going to go ahead and turn this over. Paper has two sides. Bring out my paper piercing mat. Learn from my mistake and try it again. In the middle. Stamp it down. And I did stamp it off. Just didn't stamp too much of it off. And there we go. And so the next part here, I am going to go ahead and clean these stamps off real fast, because I need to use these blocks for the next piece to this. Or the blacks. I need to use the blacks for the next part of this. And then I'm going to use the same colors. And apparently I've dipped my finger in it. Same technique. Stamp off. Stamp. I'm going to put a couple of these on here. And then this one is going to be full blast here. And it's not stamping unless you dip your finger in your ink. Clean my finger, clean my stamps, close the berry burst, because the berry burst is done with for right now, and take out the Emerald Envy. I don't have I'm going to use my paper pumpkin Stampin' Spot today. And because I don't want to stamp all over my paper pierce mat, I'm going to kind of line it up under, because this is going to stamp off of the scallop circle a bit, so don't want to make too much of a mess. And one there. And one last one but not least, I'm going to put a couple leaves. So I think this stamp set is just beautiful. Sad to see it go. Alright. And now it is time for the bee. Now I use the Dragonfly thinlits. Let me go grab those quick here. They are the detailed Dragonfly thinlit dies. And in here we have all of the Dragonfly dies. And then we have this one bee die that I used basic black to cut out twice. So here is one of them. And the other one is floating around here. I just saw him. There he is. So I cut him out twice. And the reason being is that there is no... In order to see him on both sides, the way he is, you need to cut him out. We cut the black out twice. Now how I got the inside yellow, this actually is using crushed curry, and I don't know how well I particularly like that color for this, so I'm going to try it with the Daffodil Delight, and that is, there you go, and you can see it a little bit better that way. And so how I did this was, move this out of the way, is I have a little piece of scrap Whisper White here, find that. And then with a Stampin' sponge here, I'm going to go ahead and get some of this Daffodil Delight on there. And then I'm going to sponge onto the Whisper White. And this way I will in a sense color in that part of the bee. And bring out my silicone craft sheets, kind of well used here. And another sponge that I have just for this purpose. And the Tombow multi-glue. I'm going to go ahead and squirt some of that out onto my silicone craft sheet. And then I'm going to go ahead and take one of these die cutouts for the bees, and I'm going to go ahead and really quick here just put down some glue on him. And this is the easiest way that I have found to glue these guys on. The only thing that I have to say about this particular method is they do still are kind of a little tacky when they're done drying. I don't know if it's the glue so much or as the just the way that I put it on, but there is that guy. And then I went ahead and with my paper snips I cut around, flipped him over, and then do the same thing, sponge and glue him, the other piece on to mirror that piece. Now when you put the second piece on, here, let me show you how to do this. Real fast. I don't know, maybe I'm liking the crushed curry a little bit better than the Daffodil Delight. Here are the two. I'm not sure. Now that I think about it, I might like the crushed curry better. Anyway, So I trimmed around, and I'm just going to do this real fast here, so it's not going to be perfect because by the magic of TV I have another one waiting. The magic of YouTube. That's all ready to go into the card. But I will show you how I put the string in that he dances around on. Now I would say that the most time-consuming part of this card really is the fussy cutting around the bee and the waiting for the glue to dry to the point where you can safely handle it. So he's kind of messed up, as you can tell, but oh wow, I just did that, didn't I? There we go. Yeah, I did. Yay me! So, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on this side of the bee. And the string. Let's talk about the string here for a second. It is what I used is the Coats transparent, basically sewing thread I got into my sewing kit. And ripped off some thread. And if I don't lose it, because it's like fishing line almost, only it's a little thinner. I'm going to say that. It's the best way to describe it. And hopefully without making any more of a crazy mess, I'm going to go ahead and get the glue on him. And like I said, with my gluing technique, it gets a little kind of everywhere, so that might be why I'm having an issue with it. And the way I ran this thread, if you can see here in between my fingers, I do have the thread there. I put it down so it's coming, so the bee is diagonal. And I'm giving myself a lot of extra thread just so in that way it's easier to position it, and I want that extra thread when I'm putting it, attaching this to the card. But you're going to put him down here and kind of line him up. Try not to take off an antenna. And that, as this dries, then it will dry that thread in there, so he'll be suspended on the thread. And as I mentioned, I have an extra guy sitting around here. And he is also in the crushed curry. So, he's all ready to go onto a card. I'm going to move this stuff up out of the way and put my glue one back, hopefully without making any more of a mess. Close up my ink. And bring out my pieces here. So I'm going to go ahead and use my snail and try my best to line this up as best as possible here. And we can also Cheat sheet. Cheat sheet. So this will give us an idea as to where we want this particular one to go. Of course, you don't want to stick it down when your cheat sheet's there, but you can also do it like this and see where that lines up on here. If you want to get technical, I'm getting technical here. And that will give you a fairly decent idea as to where you want to put that down. And now all that's left is gluing this bee onto the card. Now I'm going to use clear black to hold this down, and going to position him right over, I'm going to go the other way. There we go. Position him so he's kind of over that tulip. Bring back the Tombow glue and the scrap paper, I think, because we're going to want to move him out of the way while he's drying. Ah, I get glue everywhere, I tell ya. So we want him kind of there. So bringing out a little bit of my scrap washi to hold him down. Washi, I really don't, I like, I suppose, but I also, it's the kind that I wouldn't be too tremendously upset if I run out and can't find any more. Because I did get a lot of this, so. Just saying. And then that'll hold that down well enough that I can go ahead and, I've tried this with the felt or fine tip glue pen, and I also used the Tombow on this part. Now that is the outcome from it. So you have a little bit of glue dots on this side. I think that the Tombow actually worked better for this than the fine tip glue pen, but by all means go ahead and play around if you'd like to. But I'm going to use the Tombow for now. And this is going to take a little bit to dry. And I like to make sure that my thread is in there good. And so I will let that sit and dry. So it's not quite a finished card, but it's quite similar to this one. I will show you this one last time here. Twist him up. Close him up, and then when your recipient opens it, he spins. Dancing little bee. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, please like, share, and subscribe, and there will be plenty more videos coming, and until next time.